Hello and welcome to the Macro Orbit for the end of the week that started on the 21st of August 2017. Really quiet week, not surprising considering that normally you get a fairly quiet week at the end of a month. What I do want to concentrate on is what's been going on at the Jackson Hole Symposium. It's an interesting idea on the fact that at the moment you're actually seeing central bankers having to basically promote and defend globalization. The whole idea around the sort of global dynamic economy, which was the theme of the Jackson Hole Symposium, was backed up by all the major speakers. The one really to watch was Mario Draghi, and he stayed on point. There was hope that he might actually start to talk about what's going on in the ECB monetary policy. And again, over the weekend, we might actually see that. But more to the point, what he was talking about is showing that when we have had a dynamic increase in manufacturing, particularly high-end manufacturing, the demand and therefore also the quality has gone through the roof. And he uses Germany as the case in point. Have a look at their manufacturing industries. They've been incredibly powerful. Even there, with the pressure that's gone on in their car manufacturing, particularly places like Volkswagen, it's still been an incredible market to move off the back of globalization and the fact that they can therefore do things very, very efficiently. It's really interesting that he's having to do this, considering that on the fiscal side, and particularly geopolitical side, things that I talk about quite a lot, that macro thematic idea is becoming more and more nationalistic. And his home ground, the European Union, is seeing a massive increase in these kinds of players. And I did do a talk with Tony on Wednesday, and I do recommend you have a look at it with regards to what's going on inside the European economy, because it is a very interesting sort of point. It's something that we're seeing here slightly in Australia as well. We've got an RBA that is clearly trying to talk about the fact that it is managing the monetary policy side of our country as well as it can. Yes, it understands that wage growth is low, but employment is doing reasonably well. It's powering ahead. Unemployment is low, and there are parts of the economy that are doing quite nicely, and they're very much keeping an eye on what's going on that isn't. However, on the political side, there is a lot of populist policies from both sides of politics that are clearly talking about nationalism. And nationalism is certainly something that you're going to hear more and more about, unfortunately, with regards to looking at things like services, things like manufacturing over the next 2 to 3 years, because there is pressure there. There is no doubt that those traditional markets are seeing a decline and a structural decline in that space. So not a big week in the economic side, I understand, but I did really want to highlight that this is going to be something not just talking about on a weekly basis, it's going to be something that's going to be talked on over the next decade. And it's a question of whether or not you believe the monetary policy side is the correct one or the fiscal, and certainly something to watch for those foreseeable futures.
International equities. A study by the Australian Stock Exchange shows 75% of Australian investors only hold ASX-listed stocks. The Australian market makes up a small portion of the global economy, and without international exposure, you miss out on dynamic economies like the US and Asia, which can diversify your portfolio and boost returns. Investing in the InvestSMART International Equities portfolio gives you instant diversification across the globe through a hand-picked selection of exchange-traded funds. Diversify your portfolio and gain exposure to the globe's most successful companies. For more information, visit investsmart.com.au.